Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm Patrick, and Andy is away for work this week, so I'm flying solo for the first time. We recently took a trip to California to explore their theme parks and their studio tours. Now, I'm a big fan of the business of movies and television and seeing how they get made. So one of the things we decided to do for my birthday was the Universal Studios Hollywood VIP tour. We decided to splurge because we were only going to be there for one day, and we really wanted to experience that back lot in a different way.
Treat yourself.
This is an amazing tour that gets you to skip most of the lines, but it comes at a hefty price tag. We paid $1,000 for this tour. While it's not as expensive as a Disney VIP tour, it is still a huge cost. In this video, I'm going to go through the entire day with you, outlining the pros, and then I'll go through some of the things that we think could be improved about the tour. Now, we made one huge mistake that is totally out of character for us, and I'm going to tell you about that toward the end of the video. Before we begin, we have a ton of exciting things planned for the future, including the opening day of Tiana's Bayou Adventure at Walt Disney World and a trip to Tokyo Disneyland this September. Please take a moment and hit that subscribe button. It's totally free and it really helps us. Let's start with the good. First of all, one of the perks is valet parking.
I'm driving.
This is a wonderful perk considering that self-parking at Universal Studios Hollywood is $35 a day. We didn't use this benefit because we stayed across the street at the Hilton, but if you are driving in, it is a wonderful thing. You get to skip the crowds to get into the park. Now, what you'll notice is when you get to any theme park, before it opens, there's going to be mass amount of crowds waiting to get in for rope drop. All you have to do is find a cast member at the front gate, let them know you're there for the VIP tour, and they will actually escort you to the VIP lounge to check in and to get your complimentary breakfast. There's a little bit of varying information out there about how early you can go and check in. Some places say up to 2 hours, others say 30 minutes. We arrived about 45 minutes early and got in no problem. I would just recommend checking with Universal on that exact timing. Now, this is not a hot breakfast per se, but there were a few great items like desserts, bagels, cereal, fruit, and there were egg croissants as well. I recommend arriving hungry because you're paying a lot to be there. Now, VIP tours consist of a small group of up to 12 people. This tour is quite popular, so you should bank on the fact that there are going to be 12 people total in your group. Your guide will come and find you when it's time for your tour. They will give you a lay of the land. They will let you know exactly what's going to happen and kind of get to know you a little bit. From there, you'll head out on your adventure. And now what I will say is when you are a VIP guest and you are rocking this lanyard, the cast members at Universal tend to treat you a little bit more special. So a great example of this, we were walking in the New York section of the park and the two people who live in the apartment building above saw us, started chatting with us, and then they started chanting, and it was just a really cool experience and we really appreciated that nice touch. Obviously, one of the best perks about the VIP tour is you get to skip all of the lines. And when I say all of the lines, you still do have to go into the express queue for a lot of the attractions. But because you're doing them early in the morning, there's not really a lot of people there anyway. So it's kind of like you're walking onto all of the rides.
Don't hate, VIP coming through.
It's natural to feel jealous.
There are some attractions that have their own VIP entrances, like Transformers, where it was literally a 30-second walk and we were on a ride vehicle. There was no queue whatsoever. Now, if you do want to skip out on any of the attractions for whatever reason, you're free to do that. Your guide will tell you roughly how long it will take to go through the queue and the ride and a meeting spot and time. For example, I didn't want to go on Harry Potter Forbidden Journey. I've been on it many times in Orlando and it really makes me motion sick. So I just grabbed an overpriced beer in the Wizarding World and waited for them to be done. Now, your guide will gather you around before you go on any attractions and ask you exactly what you're looking for, what you're not looking for, your must-dos, and the things you just want to avoid. They also have a really detailed knowledge of the schedule of the park, especially for that day. Now, an example of this, our guide Mike told us that the schedule was a little bit wonky for us that day because of the Waterworld stunt show and the scheduled times. That is usually a part of the VIP VIP tour if everybody wants to see it, but because of when lunch was scheduled and the weird timing of it that day, he said that there was not enough time to do some of the rides and Waterworld stunt show. So he gave us all the option. Do you want to do these rides or do you want to see Waterworld? Luckily, we were in a group of people who all agreed to see the stunt show, and it did not disappoint. When you arrive in the theater, you actually have a VIP sectioned off area in the back of middle where there's even actors walking by and chatting with you. It was a great viewing experience, and the show was unexpectedly funny and really exciting. I'm so glad that everybody voted to do the stunt show because we had a great time. This show has been operating for a whopping 29 years. That's proof of how good it is. So after the Waterworld stunt show, we were given a gourmet lunch at a private restaurant. Now, this was buffet style, but they had a ton of amazing options, including chicken, shrimp, beef, tons of desserts, even chicken fingers for the kiddos or me, who's 12 years old inside. Everything was really delicious, really fresh. You even got to meet some characters there, like Dracula came to our table and made some jokes about it being too sunny on the terrace. You have a total of 1 hour to eat as much or as little as you'd like, but you're also free to leave early. So what our guide told us was, hey, if you guys want to eat for 30 minutes and then go to one of the attractions nearby that we're not doing on the tour, you should do what makes you happy. So we ended up eating for 30 minutes and then going to Secret Life of Pets. And we are so glad we did. It's an amazing attraction. It's a dark ride with tons of animatronics, tons of cute dogs, cats, you name it. So your guide will tell you that's an option, but from my standpoint, you should be doing that. You are only on the VIP tour for 7 hours. You are not going to be able to do all of the rides. So make sure you're prioritizing and maybe have lunch quicker than you normally would. After lunch, it's time for the best part of the day, and that is the backlot tour. This is where two groups of VIP tours come together as one to make 24, and you have two guides from that point on. This is amazing because it's not your typical backlot tour where you're on a tram full of 120 people going around the backlot for an hour. This is actually several hours on a very nice bus with free water and two personalized guides. You get to get off the bus, you get to go into sound stages, look at the prop warehouse, and visit historic sets that you are going to recognize. For example, one of the sets we got to explore was from The Good Place, and that was really exciting for us because we love that show and everything looks exactly like it did on the show. We also got to visit the set of Jordan Peele's Nope and got to go into a soundstage to see how they film a sitcom. That leads me to my pro tip. I have a ton of questions about the movie business and the theme park business, how it operates. However, I felt like when we were on the tour, I didn't ask enough questions because I just couldn't think of them. So my tip is to actually write out all of the questions that you might have on your iPhone or your Android phone, have them in a notepad, and when things are at a lull and you're just walking from one place to another, you have questions ready to ask your guide because they are very honest and very knowledgeable. On the day, you might space out like I did.
Me lose brain? Uh-oh.
So after that amazing tour of the back lot, they take you to the lower lot, and that is where your tour ends. For us, we didn't get to do Jurassic Park ride because it was really cold in the morning, so we did that at the end of the tour. That is where Mike left us and said, you're free to do whatever you'd like now. You can use your VIP pass as unlimited express pass. Now, the great part about the VIP pass, you get to ride Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge as many times as you want while skipping the line. Now, I put that in quotations because you only skip part of the line, which is something I'll talk about in the improvements section of this video. Now, all of this sounds amazing, right? Well, it was, but I do need to point out some things that need improvement. So because you are part of somewhat of a large group, up to 12 people, you may find yourself in a group of people who don't necessarily want to do the same things, or who walk slow, or who have small children, and then you end up doing a lot of small kiddie rides, which is not what you had planned. Now, this is not going to be within your control. It is just something to keep in mind. So certainly the biggest negative for us on this tour were the park operating hours. Like I said, we were there on Thursday, May 9th, and the operating times were 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. In my opinion, this is unacceptable for a world-class theme park to only operate for 9 hours of the day, especially with the prices that they charge. One thing to note is that I did look at the Friday right after that, and they were open until 8 p.m. and the price difference was only $10 per ticket. So if you have that opportunity, make sure you're purchasing for a day where it's open later. So the VIP tour was 7 hours, and then we were supposed to have 2 hours at the end of the day, but unfortunately we also got stuck on Jurassic Park, so we were not done until about 5:30, so that only left an hour and a half to do anything. Also, this might sound like a positive, but the park is gigantic, and not gigantic in a way that's great and has a lot of rides, because it really doesn't. It has a lower lot and an upper lot, and it takes a minimum of 10 minutes just to go up and down the escalators to get to and from the lot, plus all the walking you have to do to get to the ride you're going to. So for example, if you're at Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge and you want to go to Secret Life of Pets, it's actually a 20-minute journey. It is not easy to get around. It takes a very long time, and at the end of your tour, your guide will ask you, do you want to be dropped off on the lower or the upper lot? Because what you want to do is going to dictate where you spend the rest of the day. Some areas of the back lot will be unavailable. Not might be, they will be. It is a working studio like any other, and they're often filming things. So we were slightly disappointed that we did not get to see the Back to the Future set.
No, God! No, God, please, no!
Because it looks really cool, but they often film there, and when we drove by, that's what was happening. They were filming another TV show or movie there. So just set your expectations that you're not going to get to see everything that you want. And no matter how much you pay, rides will break down and you could get stuck on them, just like us. So again, especially if you have kids who are really looking forward to going on a ride, make sure you're managing their expectations. And this might be a hot take. Don't get me wrong, we loved Super Nintendo World. It's very immersive. It has a lot of cute effects. Mario Kart is really fun. But the thing is, other than Mario Kart, there's not a lot you can do without a power-up band. Now, this is a band kind of like Magic Band at Disney World, where you get to interact with the land. If you don't have that, there's very few things you can do. And when you're paying so much for a VIP tour, I do feel like the power-up band should be included. Even if they had to slightly increase the price of the tickets, it would be nice if that was included so that we could get the full experience. A small example, but one that really stuck out to me, when you go and you hit the coin blocks, if you don't have a power-up band, it goes poo-choo, poo-choo, instead of something small. But again, I didn't get that overall feeling of nostalgia really, because I couldn't do most of the things. And because you're only there for a day, do you really want to spend $40 on a band when you've already paid $1,000 on a VIP tour? And Mario Kart is a really, really fun ride. We loved it. We did it multiple times, but I want to preface the skipping of the line because you don't really get to skip the entire line. So the way it works, you go through a different part of the queue than the regular guests, but you still do get to see most of the props, which is great. You're just on the other side. However, when they put you together with the regular guests is the first pre-show. And the first pre-show is extremely long, and there's about 100 people in the room with you. Then there's a second pre-show, and then there's another part where you have to get your visors and wait in line again. So while the wait time was posted at 50 minutes, we actually waited 25 minutes, so about half. So just keep that in mind. You don't get to skip the entire queue. You actually have to wait quite a while. Our understanding was that we could just cycle it and keep going and going and going and ride it as many times as we wanted, but it didn't work out that way because we only had an hour and a half. Now, of course, one of the negatives is the huge cost of going on the VIP tour, but here's where I tell you where we made the stupidest mistake. It was so out of character for us. We purchased directly on the Universal website, but if we had booked with undercover tourists like we do for all of our other Disney and Universal trips, we could have saved $80. Now, $80 is not going to make or break someone, but the fact that we just had to order the tickets on a different website to save $80 really kills our soul. So we are not going to make that mistake again, and we're including a link down below for you to buy your tickets there as well so you don't make the same mistake. So was the VIP tour worth it? We think it definitely was, especially if you're only at Universal Studios Hollywood for one day and you want to maximize it as much as possible. This is definitely the way to do it if you can afford it. Do keep in mind that prices fluctuate, and I would highly recommend taking a look at those park operating hours and making sure you're picking a day where it's open later than 7 p.m. Have you ever done a VIP tour of a theme park? What were your thoughts, and did you think it was worth it? Let us know in the comments down below. And with that, we'll see you on the next one. Bye.